Want to make sure my face is on the re-edited version from now on. That's my only stipulation.
All I'm gonna say is get me a drink. Jesus Christ!
All right, let's be straight up and let people know what's happening. We did talk to António for a second. He could hear us, we couldn't hear him, so he's gonna try and see can he fix that. So he will be along shortly, but that's why we're a bit delayed this time. Not my hair, like I see other people saying in the chat.
It's always your hair, guys.
It's always your hair. Yeah. But sorry, mate. Over to you.
No. Welcome back. Fully Loaded Transfer Show is back in full swing now. I think this is episode 3 of the third series, third round of transfers. We're back again. Marty in the house tonight. Wasn't able to. I don't know if you were able to make it yesterday. Is that right?
He was there.
I was there, mate. Thanks.
You were there.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I know.
Sorry.
I quit for 6 months. You know what I mean? I didn't talk to you.
How did I get you and Chris mixed up? It's like all the opposites.
I quit for 6 months and I've been here more than he has this year.
Yeah.
To be fair, you know what I mean? I don't give you lads up for a Toby jug, and I'm fat.
He's gone to run it off tonight, though. He's gone playing football, so fair play to him.
Over 40s walking football doesn't really count as running, to be fair.
Walking football. Look, let's get into it. Great to have you all in the chat, as always. Great to see everyone in there. Russ, how you doing? I hope you're well. Look, whilst we're waiting for António, he's just sorting out his audio, as Daz said. I want to get into this one. This interesting transfer at the moment, and it is Garang Kuol. Interesting situation with Garang Kuol. Keith Downey, friend of the channel, mentioned today that Garang Kuol is at Scottish Club Hearts, his team, as we already know, because we talked about it when he came on our show previously. For face-to-face talks over a loan move today, Kuol has 3 Australian international teammates in the Hearts squad. Boys, what do you make of that one? It wasn't what I was expecting, I've got to be honest, that he goes to Hearts, but if he does, and it looks like he's there, I think he put on Instagram that he was in Scotland. Yeah. What do you guys make of that transfer? Daz, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good move. It's not too far. My geography now, but it's not too far away from Newcastle either. But it's and he, as that tweet said, that he's 3 Australian in had Hearts already. So not a bad move. I saw Shola's up there as well with them. I saw the other picture with it. So it looks like a done deal, that one. And yeah, get him some game time. And I just checked the Scottish League table, because I don't really follow Scottish football. I know, Martin, you follow a lot, but they're third in the table, probably a million miles behind Celtic and Rangers, but still competitive enough football, and a good introduction for him, and then easy for us to go kind of monitor him as well, monitoring in games, and I'm sure the games us as well as fans will be easy enough access to Hearts are on TV. There's going to us on Sky. We can keep an eye on the game as well. So not a bad move all around, I think. But I know Martin / Chris, who's on the show yesterday, you were thinking you'd send them to Germany.
Yeah, that like I know there is a couple of Australians in a few of the clubs over in Germany. His brother is at Schalke, and the Germans have a really good setup youth-wise. So I thought maybe that would be an area for him, thinking of the family piece and helping him settle. But look, there's Aussie lads up in Hearts. Obviously, the weather in Scotland's going to be shit, so that's going to acclimatise him quite quickly coming from Melbourne. So he'll get used to a bit of snow and a bit of cold up there the next while. But I think, Daz, I think you're probably right. It's an hour and a half up the road. It enables Eddie and the team to keep a close eye on his development, make sure he's settling well in the country, all that kind of stuff. So he'll get game time, and he'll get a bit of exposure up there. And apart from Celtic Rangers, the other teams that are playing in behind him, it is competitive. So he'll hopefully get a bit of ball time and settle himself in, and hopefully Newcastle keep a close eye on him. So if he's on the telly, I'll have a look at the fixtures, and I'll put it on the Twitter as to when Hearts are playing, and they're on the box. We can keep an eye on them.
And another bonus with going to Hearts is that he can get a lift with Richie. Richie's always up and down there to Edinburgh with the barn. He can get a lift
with the barn.
The barn. I can't pronounce it right.
Ben.
The Ben. Okay, the Ben.
The barn. Yeah, he's up the M1 with a big trailer with a huge shed on the back of it with chickens and everything falling out of it.
As long as it's not your shed, Martin, he's all right.
No. Mine is well and truly cemented. Antonio, we could have Antonio back here. He could be right.
Do we take two?
Yeah, just before we do bring Antonio on, I can see him there in the background, and we do delve any further. Can I just give a shout out to Davey Shepherd, friend of the channel, is always in amongst the chat, has been kind of with us from early days. Anybody that is on Twitter and that with him, just to let you know, his mother passed away really suddenly this morning. I got a text from Dave about a couple of hours ago. So, look, Dave, thoughts are with you, fella. From me and the lads, the channel. I'm sure everybody else in the chat, you know where we are. I've sent him a DM and dropped my number out to him in case he wants to have a chat and stuff, because obviously I was there myself last year. So I know how he's feeling. But look, best wishes to you, mate, and thoughts with the family. Keep your chin up, lad.
That goes from all of us.
Yeah, super supporter of the channel. So we're all behind you, 100% loaded, no doubt. Great stuff, Mark. I just wanted to add on Garang Kuol. I don't even think it's about the team. The fact that he's been linked with Hearts makes me think that it doesn't matter what team he plays for, as long as he's playing regular football. Because that's the one thing that they want. They're wanting to be kicking a ball for 90 minutes every week. They could have probably, let's be honest, someone like Celtic or Rangers probably could have took him. But it's about playing regular football. And I think that's one of the biggest things. So I personally agree with Mark. Germany would have been the best place for him. You look at a lot of English players now that are going over to Germany to develop their football and to develop their game, because it is the best country for developing the players.
Haaland is a prime example of that. With the 2-3 clubs he was with Bremen and then into BVB, they have an outstanding youth policy across the whole of Germany with all the teams, the lower levels.
Sancho,
Yeah.
Sancho was
Bellingham.
outstanding. Bellingham, that's just at Dortmund, let alone some of the other teams.
Yeah.
But Sancho's obviously gone to Man United and all of that fell apart. But it's still you can see that Germany is the one. But look, right. Let's get the man in. Really pleased on behalf of all of us at Loaded to welcome in Antonio Mango. I think we're about to get mangoed, aren't we? Let's get him in. Oh,
there he is.
What's going on there?
Hello, guys.
I think me and Daz did a double whammy, didn't we? Yeah.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. This is my first time on a podcast. I went and lent the microphone off my friend and everything, and then the sound doesn't work. So, but I'm glad.
No, not to worry.
So I do apologize.
No problem.
We can hear you loud and clear now.
Definitely. And look, it's a pleasure to have you on Loaded Mag NUFC for the Full Loaded Transfer Show. All of the boys have been keeping an eye out on some of the posts that you've been putting out regarding various different players. It's really interesting. There's so many Newcastle fans that are interested in other players in other countries, other teams. And with the fact that the transfer window's open now, it's the perfect opportunity to look at potential players that are linked with Newcastle, and we'll get into them, no doubt, but also players that one or two of us may not even know about, and I know for a fact that you've got some great knowledge on players that are out there that have been coming. Yeah, it is. It is. We were talking earlier, and you were just popping players out the top of your head that you're trying to remember. So we've got lots and lots to get through. But look, first and foremost, I'll go to a link that's actually come round quite quickly over the last 48 hours, and it looks like it's moving. You know, the likes of Sky and various others are talking about this, and we've already covered it before, but it is Dominic Sker of the Shields Gazette mentioned it about Ivan Fresneda, if I'm pronouncing that right. Fresneda?
I think so. That's how I would pronounce it.
Yeah, the 18-year-old right back, Valladolid in Spain, played against Real Madrid the other night, and apparently did a decent job against Vinicius Junior. So at 18 years old, he's not doing too bad. But look, just from your perspective, Antonio, just talk to us a little bit about Fresneda and what you know about him as a player.
Perfect. So firstly, I just want to say it's my pleasure to come on the show with you guys, and for everybody listening, honestly, it means a lot to be invited on. So thank you very much. And to everybody that's tuned in and wished us luck, thank you guys so much. But precisely, I mean, we've got the money to spend. So now people are thinking, what can we do with it? Do you know what I mean? They're getting excited about transfers, and this is not something Newcastle fans have had in a long, long time. When you think about it, when it come around the transfer window, we knew Ashley wasn't going to go into his pockets much. But we've got that opportunity now, and yes, like you say, we've been linked to a right back from Real Valladolid, in Ivan Franesca. Again, that's how you pronounce it. I think you do. He's an 18-year-old, but he's got so much maturity for his age. It's incredible. I mean, he came out the Real Madrid Academy. The club didn't want to sell him, but he wanted to get that first team move and wanted to gain that first team experience at a young age rather than playing under 18s, under 21s. So that's why he joined Real Valladolid, and I'm delighted he did, really. Because what he would bring is he's 6 foot tall, so he's quite slim build, but he's aggressive and really tenacious in everything he does, whether that's going forward, tackling. He just loves it all. You can tell he enjoys his football, and he reminds us a little bit of Trippier. Like, his technical ability on the ball is outstanding for his age. Truly is. It's remarkable. And he's a player with good pace, acceleration. He's physical. And he offers things at both ends of the pitch. And I think that's what Newcastle United are looking for. And with his attacking mindset, will work perfectly with somebody we're going to talk about probably later on in the show. So I think this is what I gather from it. So he's very, very good going forward. He can deliver at pace, at pinpoint. He likes to mix his crosses. He's good in combination players going up the field. Like, his stats, he's been the best right back in La Liga this season. And in terms of tackling, he's averaging 3.3 tackles per game, and that's in the top 10 in European football. Like, for an 18-year-old, that's quite remarkable, you must admit. So he's an absolute diamond, and I would love us to complete this transfer. I'm not going to lie to you. Given his age, he's still got improvements. Don't get us wrong, he's not the finished article like most people at that age, but he's an absolute diamond in the rough. And I know Barcelona are looking at him, and a couple of bigger clubs in Spain are too. So I think we better move fast as well, to be honest.
you know what? There's a lot of interest around him now. He's already been linked to one or two other clubs since he's been linked with Newcastle. What was really interesting, lads, and I don't know if any of you have seen this, that it came out in the last few hours that the Valladolid manager, I can't pronounce the name, I apologise. He came out and said that he believes the player's going to go, that the player's going to leave. And actually, the words that he said is actually quite fitting to what Antonio's mentioned, because what he said was, he's an 18-year-old with the ability to play like he's 30 because of his level of maturity. The way he plays on the pitch is like someone of a 30-year-old, which, you know, is massive, massive praise. The links is that it could be anywhere between 10, 12 million pounds. Surely that's a steal. That's a steal.
Do you know what I think about with transfers like this? It's low risk, high reward.
Yeah.
Because low fee of 12, 15, whatever million pounds, it might add up to 20 eventually with add-ons, etc. It's a low risk, high reward because he's wanted by many. And if he doesn't work out per se Newcastle, we'll still sell him at 20, 23 for the same price. Do you know what I mean? So it's a no-brainer in my head.
Definitely.
Like, even if you got 2 seasons out of him and it didn't work, he's still only 20.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Exactly. So he goes back to Spain or Portugal or somewhere like that. You're going to get 25, 26, maybe 27 mil, if not a bit more.
So it's low risk, high reward.
You're doubling your money, and he's probably not going to come in on that big a salary. I wouldn't have thought of either.
No, not at 18. You'd imagine that he'd probably come. You'd imagine he'd probably come on a maybe slightly higher scale because of the type of teams that are interested on him, but not to the level that, you know, he's not going to come in, let's face it, on 80 to 100 grand a week. It's just
I'd say it's probably going to be. I would imagine it'd be pitched more around the 30, 35 mark. I would think kind of where he would be. I would think at that age, you know.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely. It's not. I wouldn't even call it a gamble. It's a no-brainer. Go get him, and maybe you mentioned this, but it wasn't Steve Nixon meant to be
Nixon was at the game on Friday. He was at the game on Friday.
Yeah. And so I saw somewhere else on Twitter that he did a good job marking Victor Jr. When he played Real Madrid, when they played Real Madrid as well. So look, he's one I'd like to see come in. I suppose then the question is, because we were all talking about Harrison Ashby, he looked like when they were looking at the end of the summer window on transfer deadline day, and I think he's left West Ham now. Where will he end up? Or what was it? I imagine it's in either or. We're not going to bring in 2 right backs, young right backs, you know. So yeah,
it would surprise me if we brought in 2. And I think, you know, with what Antonio's talked about, with the potential of Ivan Fresneda, it makes sense to bring him in because the potential's so high. You know, the way you talked about him, Antonio, it is the classic type of player that I think personally that Dan Ashworth brings in. Exactly. He's the kind of player that I think that would be signing for Brighton. You look at Brighton now. You look at some of the young players.
Do you know what it is? Exactly. He's like another Cucurella.
You're bang on.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Signed for 13 million and sold for what, 55 to Chelsea?
Yeah.
And another thing I found fascinating about this individual player is his shot creation per game is 2.5. Yeah. That's outstanding. Like, he's just so decisive in that final third for a right back. It's remarkable. And I think with us getting the likes of Isak and Almiron and those little like players like can just maneuver in and out, they'll combine brilliantly together. So I think he fits our style of play as well, which is most important.
I think he's he'd be a good understudy to Trippier as well.
Oh, without
the fact that Trippier was in Spain, so he's got somebody not only to mentor, but the language barrier is not a problem. So, I think there's and obviously we're investing a lot in the youth as well. So it makes perfect sense, I think.
You could learn a lot from Trippier, that little dark art side of the game. Do you know that Trippier's got where he just knows where to be and just that little cleverness? He could maybe learn all that from Trippier, so it would be great for him.
He already sounds like a great defender.
Yeah.
He already sounds like a great defender, and Trippier, positional-wise, is brilliant. So perfect person to learn off, that is for sure. Another player, we'll move on. We'll move on quite quickly because there's another player that actually has been linked in the last week or so. A player that I'm not necessarily familiar with, but has huge potential that I think you know a little bit about, Antonio, as well. And it's Alan Varela. There were reports that there was a bid being made for Alan Varela. There were various different journalists that were saying that Alan Varela is in the eyesight of Newcastle and we're looking to buy him. Again, that mentions about around the $80 million in terms of signings. But what do you know about Alan Varela? Boca Juniors, am I right in thinking, centre midfielder?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about him as a player and a potential.
So the first thing I'm going to say about him is, do you know when you see those players that you love to hate, but you always want on your side? That's him. Those types of players that just do all the feisty work and just are tenacious and just get around the park and love to tackle, love to get on the ball. And do you know what I mean? Like that type of player, you just, I love him, but I hate him at the same time. He's that type of player because he plays as a defensive midfielder and a deep line playmaker at Boca. What's fascinating and what happened in Boca is Barcelona took over their academy. So they purchased their academy and said, look, we'll bring in loads of coaches, we'll train them the way we do. So he's got that technical ability, and you can see in his gameplay that he was brought up in a Barcelona environment.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's terrific on the ball. He's comfortable. He's composed in tight areas. He's very, very good. He's that type of player. He's not very tall, I'm not going to lie. He's about 5'10", 5'9". But
what?
I'm 5'9".
Well, I'm 5'9". I get told I'm tiny all the time.
Jeez, you want to see Daz? Daz is only 4'3".
I'm 5'10", 5'11".
What I mean
think me and Daz are around the same height, aren't we? We're about 5'10", 5'11".
Small bit taller. Yeah.
Come on.
Hey, look at our YouTube page. You can see it. It's the banner at the top.
Sorry, Antonio, carry on.
No, you're fine. What I mean is, normally when you think of defensive midfielders, you would think of them 6 foot, 6'4", like Khephren Thuram, etc. But he's not that type of character. He's more feisty, get in your face type of character. And when I said a defensive midfielder would fit in well with that style of right back, is Boca play with their right and left fullbacks overlapping constantly, and he just holds the ground and steps into positions when needed. Do you know what I mean? So he's got that technical nous to do that, and that's why I think he'll work well with Trippier, or if we're signed Fresneda. It just complements each other very, very good, and that's where he comes in. I love him as a midfielder. Love him.
Brilliant. I don't know, boys, whether you know anything about Alan Varela. I certainly didn't. It came kind of left field for me, but he does seem that little bit of that, from the sounds of it, that little bit of tenacious midfield. Yeah, you know what? When you were talking about, his height and the type of player he is, it almost reminded me a little bit of Mascherano.
That sort of type.
Not the biggest type of number 6, that defensive midfielder, but tenacious, get stuck in. One of those players that you love to hate, like you've just mentioned.
Yeah,
like he's one of Mascherano was that for me.
I think if we do bring him in, I can see Newcastle fans grown to absolutely love this boy.
Yeah.
He's like our type of player.
Yeah, I just did a YouTube search on him and watched a video too. But yeah, like it's. But we've been down this road a few times already. Like I fell in love with Andre Santos. I absolutely loved him, and it looks like he's gone to Chelsea. And then Maximo Perrone, a situation. He's going. Looks like he's going to City. So yeah, when are we gonna get one of these done or make it solid? Or and I know there could be about 5 more links to South American players. Because I love I have massive interest in the South American players and love to see them rocking up at Newcastle. But I just don't want to get at least one of them done.
Definitely. Well, we've got our eye on a few. I do know that, and I know we are looking in South America per se for a lot of talents at the moment. So, if going back on the boy City have just signed, sorry, his name
Maximo Perrone, is it?
Yes, Maximo Perrone. He's very, very similar. Both some very similar players. So if you get one, you can get the other, vice versa. It's a flip of a coin, really.
I'd say they've got a fairly well comprehensive drawn up list of kind of one of those things that Sean Casey talks about, is that, they do this scouting piece, and, the listing is given to the club, and they're given 3 or 4 options of players in the position that they're looking for, and, all these statistics and analytics and everything else. So I suppose, if you look at the right back piece, there's probably 3 or 4 on that list that they're looking in that position, and they're assessing, suitability, attitude, will they travel, what's the maximum potential, as you said, Antonio. If it doesn't work out, what's the cut, what's the loss, what's the sell on, all of those things. So I think, especially when you're bringing players in from an overseas country, it's not necessarily a quick process. I think there's a lot of spade work probably has gone on, but I think look, like any Newcastle fan, I think you just want to see players coming in at this stage. You're going, right, hang on, it's the 5th of January. Why have we not signed anyone? But I think Newcastle are now, for me, they've got the right people in, the likes of Ashworth, and Darren Eales and the right players. So I think, Pete, you said the other night, trust the process. So I think we will get players in, but I'm quite happy for them to take the time and do the due diligence, and we bring in another Bruno or another Trippier, or do you know what I mean? And the player fits the club, because the likes of the lad going to Chelsea, he's not even guaranteed. He's not even guaranteed game time.
Nah.
He could sit do 21s for 2 years, and you might never hear from him again.
It'll be Vitesse on him in Holland, which is where they normally said that you'll play.
Yeah. But to be honest, I think he's good enough to get game time, and it will be a disappointment if he doesn't, because he's a phenomenal talent. But just going back on what you said, I mean, Dan Ashworth is a master at what he does. If you think about the first thing he looks at is a player's attitude, whether they've got the right mentality, characteristics, the right type of focus, rather than looking at their ability. And I think that's what it stems down to. Because if you can bring in that right character, you can nurture that ability. But if they haven't got the mindset to do it, it's very, very difficult. And I think that's why he does his, like you said, network on everybody thoroughly. Because that's what he's ultimately looking for, the right characters, which is great for a Newcastle fan. So although these might not come into the team right away, they'll definitely have cameos and have a say on where we do finish.
Yeah. No, it's I think you made Martin, you made a really good point in terms of those pool of players that we look at. I think there's I'm guessing here, I have no idea, but I think there's a pool of players that I think they look at that are young potential players that they've got, and I think there's then a pool of first team ready to go players.
Yeah,
And it's a case of what is
automatic improvements.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
come in straight into the first 11, better than what we've already got. Let's go. Or we've got that player to come in that can kind of like sit behind that first choice and then build their way into the team. And it's almost like that's how a club should be run. And we're finally being run like a club that is going places, because that's how it should be. And it all depends on value. And they keep talking about it, Newcastle. They keep talking about it as a club. It's all about the right value of a player. If the value is right, we'll do the deal. And it's a really interesting one. But just before we move on to some other players, so many in the chat are putting it out there. And massive, massive thanks to that. We've got 230, 240 watching, which is amazing. Thank you for all your support. We are so close to 5K, and I'll just click this up from Roadblock. I hope we hit that 5K tonight. I don't know what we're at currently. Daz, you might know a little bit more than that.
Yeah, I'm just going to get the button that you always hit on me, Pete. This one.
Oh,
yeah, but we are at we're 39 away from 5K, so it's very possible, it's very close, and you can get us over the line. I can even check it while we're in the show. So if you want to hit that subscribe button, get us up there as quick as possible to the 5K. So
230 watching. If you're part of that 230 watching us there tonight with Antonio, and you are not subscribed, hit the button there now. Like just break it tonight on tonight's show. Smash the button and get us there.
And another thing, actually, Martin, as well as plugging ourselves, go subscribe to Antonio.
Exactly,
as well,
go and sub to Antonio's channel as well.
Antonio's, he's just starting off on YouTube, and at the top in the title of this video, you'll see if you click on it, it's hyperlinked. It'll go straight to Antonio's channel, and you can hit subscribe there as well.
And if you're not following him, follow him on Twitter as well, because he's delighted he broke 9,000 there tonight as well, by the way.
Nice one, guys. Thank you.
No problem at all. This is what we do on Loaded Mag NUFC. We support other channels just like they support us. It's what we
and that's why, Antonio, there's no need to be nervous. I know you're nervous coming on.
Nervous, guys. So nervous.
No, don't worry about it.
And guess what? I woke up this morning. I didn't see your message till this morning. I woke up and I had a bit of a sore throat, and then I woke up and read it, and I was like, "Why today? Why today?"
I wouldn't worry about that, mate. We're like that every show we do.
So
and I'm sitting here. I've got COVID. I'm literally coming off the back of COVID.
Oh, have you?
Yeah. I've been bad all week with it. So I wasn't planning on coming on tonight, but I had a bit of a granddad nap this afternoon, so I'm actually all right there now for a little while.
Naps always work.
Yeah, power nap. Yeah, I said just go for half an hour, but I spent about 3 hours. So yeah,
lovely. Glad to see you on the mend, though.
I am. Yeah, fair play. And all those who message me, fair play to you. Thanks very much as well. Means a lot.
Definitely. 100%. I know you're on the mend, Mark, and hopefully you're back to 100% as quickly as possible. I'm going to steal the comment for you for a second, Daz.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Lisa Mole just said subbed and followed Antonio today. Thank you for the support of Antonio as well. Ben Guns, thank you for subscribing to Loaded. Amazing. Simon subscribed.
I'd say it's to
they're talking about Antonio's.
Okay. That's all right. That's what I was going to say. That must be historical if that's Loaded Mag NUFC.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, now if Antonio's goes up by 39 and ours doesn't, then that's a clusterfuck on how we are.
Ben Guns is actually one of my boys. I know he's subscribed to my YouTube already, so I no doubt he'll subscribe to this one as well.
Hometown boy, yeah, there he is.
Yeah, there you go.
Brilliant stuff. I'm sorry, Si. I'm sorry. Of course, you're a loaded subscriber. You're a spanner. It makes perfect sense. Absolutely.
In the nicest of ways.
Yes.
Me, you keep clicking off that.
Sorry.
I'm coming off it. No, it's my fault. I'm coming off it completely. Right, let's get to another player. Now, look, this is away from some of the players that we were going to focus on with regards to Antonio. I'm coming to you two boys, Daz and Mark, for this one, because I'll be honest with you, it surprised me. and
I know what you're going to say.
It was this one.
Wow.
Craig Hope yesterday also told Scott McTominay retains admirers within Newcastle, but message from Man United is they want to keep him at Old Trafford. What I want to know is, who are the admirers at Newcastle United, and why are they still employed?
I'm going to let you guys take this one.
Thanks, Antonio.
We'll take this one. Martin, come on, talk to me.
In my head, it pains me to say this, but that's got to be Eddie Howe. It's got to be Eddie Howe. Yeah, I don't know. Just I have a funny feeling he kind of strikes me as the player I think he would like. I could be completely off the map with that. For me, do I want Scott McTominay? No, let's be honest. No, not one for me. I think there's better out there. I'd still rather be chasing Maddison or Tielemans rather than a McTominay. So yeah, no. Look, I mean, there's obviously something in it. You know, Craig Hope and Pete. You know, Craig. He doesn't put stuff out there if there's not a bit of fire in it. So there's obviously something in it, but no, I can't. It's not one for me. Daz.
Is it April the 1st already? No, that can't be true. But look at even if he was coming on a free, I'd be questioning it. No, don't want him. Don't need him. Way better options. Look at the amount of people we are potentially linked to, and the amount of people that António lists every day. There's loads of players out there that could potentially rock up at Newcastle. McTominay, no thanks. No, and I don't think we'll deal with Man United in that way anyway. No,
I think that's a great point. You know, McTominay. Being at Man United, are we really going to deal with them? We've just took Debarca back off them from a loan spell. They had their issues with us last January where they didn't let us have Jesse Lingard. Probably
fair play to them.
Yeah,
thanks for that.
That's a win-win.
Cheers, Man United. Go on, Antonio.
There's another question for this. Which Man United fans want to keep them?
Yeah,
they're living in 2013 still. Do you know what I mean? Like, they've got to shift those kinds of dead wood, but not to us. Not to us, please.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting from the chat. I'm just going to steal it again, Daz, because just put in Captain Keith Hart. Welcome to the channel. Click that subscribe and come and join us. He's put, is McTominay not just a nudge to Leicester? That's interesting. As if to say, we're moving on here. You either deal with us or we go elsewhere. Could that be?
Nah. Make it more realistic. If that's the case.
Yeah. Well, let's face it. Leicester need the money. There are not many teams that are going to put the money down on the table, ready to go in January, because a lot of teams don't spend in January, but we're willing to do so.
We spoke about this the other night, Pete, on the chat, and I said to you, "Sure, who else is going to throw dollars down?" You know, Leicester are looking for a goalkeeper and another midfielder, but we know that they don't have the money. So, you know, if you're looking at a Tielemans, as I said when we were chatting, I think it was Tuesday night, 20 million on the table. I think you get Tielemans for that, and it gives Leicester 20 million to reinvest. So I think, look, maybe there is a little bit of smoke, a little bit of smoke there from Newcastle with the McTominay piece of moving on. You know, but I mean, obviously, massive differences in players from McTominay to Tielemans. But let's see where it goes.
Yeah, I just think you made another good point earlier on, Mark, where you talked about it could be an Eddie Howe move, and the reason why it could be an Eddie Howe move is that Eddie Howe likes his British-based players. There's a reason why he's going for Maddison and not going for another player in Europe. There's a reason why he wants those type of players. There's a reason why he went for Dan Burn and Trippier. He wants those British-based players at the club and in the squad. So maybe that's part of his thinking. But for me, he has to be further down the list. He is not one of the top options.
Is he an upgrade on Longstaff?
Interesting. What do we think about that? Do we think McTominay's an upgrade on Longstaff as a player? That's what you think.
But since McTominay, I can't even say his name right, is plays for Scotland, he's not getting in the English squad like our Sean Longstaff could potentially get a cap, as we said, Pete. They're back a couple weeks ago when he was playing good, but
Still good.
no, same level or close enough, you know. Sean Longstaff at times is better, and at times the opposite way. So I'm going to say the same kind of level. Really, it's an improvement we want rather than something the same. And if it's something the same, it's someone young that can develop, rather than that kind of same age.
Similar, but if you were to look at it on a player by player, he's better finisher. He's got an eye for goal, whereas, you know, Longstaff can play that pass off, but he's, you know, other than an odd one, he's got an abysmal goal scoring for the positions he does get in, you know, breaking into the box and stuff. So I don't know. Look, I just threw it out there. Is he somebody that you have, again, squad depth? I'm thinking about more so than anything else, and you know what you get him for, but.
Yeah, what's the figure we talking about as well? You know, like this where we've moved past the Mike Ashley era, and of those type of players. Never mind. I know Mike Ashley would never pay any money, but those type of players, we're in a different.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying we would. I'm just saying, is he an upgrade? I was just throwing it out there.
Fun fact about McTominay, actually, seeing he gets into good positions. He used to be a striker all the way through his youth academy days. And it was just until he went into first team he started playing centre midfield. So he should be contributing more goals with that mindset of knowing how to be and where to be at the right time.
Yeah, that's a bad point.
No, I can't stand the Man United backlash of us taking them on from them. They'll be delighted to hand them over, I'm sure. So no for me.
For me personally, there are not many players, and people might disagree with this. There are not many players that I would take for Man United right now. There are not many players at all. You know, they've got the best defensive midfielder in world football, in my opinion. They're very lucky to have him in Casemiro. I think he's outstanding. He's, for me, the best defensive midfielder in world football and has been for a number of years. Other than that, there are not many other players that I would take. I would have loved Christian Eriksen, and we were linked with him in the summer. I'd have loved to have took him. He's really turned them around, playing some brilliant stuff. We even talked about last summer. Marcus Rashford was an option.
I'd take Rashford in a heartbeat.
I like Rashford. But I think I would.
And you know what? I don't even think it's guaranteed that he stays at Man United. I think he might move to PSG.
Another couple of seasons, I think.
With Kylian Mbappe. Well, he's only got a year left on his contract going into this summer. So.
I'd say
I think he's had an extension. But
yeah, he got 12 months or 16 months or something, didn't he?
Something like that. He's not too far away. That's for sure. So look, I mean, we've gone through, like I say, a few of those players. There's another player that we've also been linked with, in transfer market put out the Flamengo player, another South American Brazilian player for you, Daz, and Matheus Franca, 18-year-old Brazilian, said to be keen on a move to Europe with Newcastle, set to continue those talks with him. Now, we've already talked about it. We're well in the market in South America. But look, from your perspective, Antonio, just talk to us about Matheus Franca. What do you know about him? What would he give to Newcastle?
Yeah, he's very, very exciting. He's one of the players that most Brazilians look to perceive as the next big thing coming out of Brazil. Aside from Hendrick and players like that, I mean, in his position, he's looked at as the absolute dime. So I would love this signing. He's an attack midfielder, can also play on the left if needs be, but mainly centrally. he's very, very versatile in his role. So he can play box to box if needed. He can do that defensive duties, but it's in the final third where he comes to life. He's like a type of player, I would say, that orchestrates the attacking phase. So he'll do all the maybe unnoticed work and doesn't get the final assist, but he creates a chance to give that final assist, cross into the box or what have you. He's that type of all energetic, hard working, all action packed player, and he's got a key eye for a goal. And his shot volume percentage to scoring from outside the box is insane. Like, he can just bullet the ball in the top corner with accuracy. It's just mind-blowing to see. So he's a very exciting player. Very creative, attacking, strong-willedness, strong-minded. I love him. He's a dream. An absolute dream.
How much do you think it would take to get him and bring him over to England at this point from what you've seen?
Personally, because he's been that good since he's come into the senior fold, I think it will be about 25 to 30 million, which isn't too much. When you compare Hendrick for going for 100 million, players like that, do you know what I mean? So although he's got that ability, he's got a lower fee, which is music to Newcastle United's ears. Do you know what I mean? So I know in the grand scheme of things, it is a lot of money. Do you know what I mean? But in terms of what's coming out of the talent of coming out of Brazil and the likes of Real Madrid spending 100 million on Vinicius, 100 million on Hendrick, etc., then it's not really that much when you compare it.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting one. I don't really know too much about Matheus Franca, but Daz, I know you like your South American players. You've already said it on the show earlier on. Is this one maybe we can get? There's been a few links with him, I've got to be honest. Transfermarkt weren't the only ones to report it.
Yeah, if I can get him, I don't know, but yeah, again, he only came to light for linked to Newcastle in the last couple of week or two. I've seen his name popping up, but yeah, looked at YouTube clips. Kind of left winger, attacking midfielder, can play kind of centre forward, kind of cuts through. Looks exciting. You'd love to see him rocking up in Newcastle. And yeah, great to hear what António was saying about him there. And yeah, he played for under 16s, under 17s, under 20s for Brazil. So like, you have to be pretty good to be coming through those ranks. There's plenty of quality on offer. So you have to kind of stand out. So bring him to Newcastle. We would love it.
Right. He's a player that just picks up those little pockets of space between the defense and midfield that just dismantles their shape, and it's very clever in the way he plays. So he's good on and off the ball, which is great as well.
I'm going to just say something that's kind of off topic for a second, because people are asking how many we're away now, and just last check, we're 36 away from 5K. But Russ has made an offer. He's said he will donate 50 quid to charity if we get the 5K tonight. So you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. And again, the generosity of Russ, our sponsor from the Radiation Shed. But yeah, hit that subscribe button.
Russ, that's class. Love it. It's top stuff. So yeah, get that subscribing. Get us down to that 5K ASAP. That is for sure. Mark, just before we move on, anything on Matheus Franca? Anything related?
I know nothing about the lad. I'd spend a little bit of time looking at Perone and Santos, because I thought, in particular with Santos, I thought that was something we were gonna do. So I don't know that much about him, but I think, certainly from António talking, I think to have somebody that can disrupt that game a bit more, maybe allow us to push Bruno a little bit further up as we play. And again, we've been chatting about this for the last few weeks. I think Bruno is more effective for us a little bit further forward. linking that kind of front line and just playing those balls through the defensive back line of the opposition. So I think, you know, a good CDM and somebody that can. The player I'm looking for is another David Batty. You know, if you take it back to the Keegan days, you know, we had David Batty, and then you had you had Gary Speed sitting in front of him, but David Batty was just that shithouse little footballer who sat between the two lines, as António said, and just found those little pockets of space. And when they were breaking, he would just stick a foot in. He was like a terrier, and I think we missed that. I think Bruno can do it, but I think we then missed the creativity of what he can bring. So I think from that point, if we can get somebody like that can be that little terrier that sits and gives that extra bit of protection to the back four, but can break up that play and really alter the shape and smash them up a bit when, you know, other teams are counter-attacking or trying to change a phase of play, then I think that it's another piece for the jigsaw for me. So I think it's one we miss, and I think, you know, we're talking about having a, you know, a 10 or a bit more creative. I think Bruno can bring that. So you know, do we necessarily need a bit more creativity if we can get the CDM right? I don't think we do. I think Bruno can do that a little bit further up, but I think we need, as you said, that, you know, you look at the likes of Casemiro. I think there are stars out there, but I think, you know, we need to be looking for the next big thing. But I think we just need that ball breaker.
Interesting, very interesting.
I've just tweeted out for guys to come on and follow, so hopefully you'll reach that 5K. So
cheers, António.
Class, fair play.
Thanks, son. Nice one.
Definitely, my internet went off slightly, so I missed that last part. But yeah, fingers crossed with that 5K. Hopefully, we're moving ever closer. There are 3 players that I want to go to next, and look, we've discussed them. They've been linked with us. Some are maybe more gettable than others, but I want your opinion on this, António, because I know you know these 3 players well. And actually, I'm going to throw a question at you. You know, once you've kind of discussed all 3 players, which one would you prefer out of the 3? So, 3 players here. First off, we have Moise Caicedo.
Absolutely.
We have Khephren Thuram.
Why are you doing this to us?
There's a reason. And we have Manu Kone from Mönchengladbach. So all play a similar position, all linked with Newcastle United, talented players across social media. There's been lots of talk about all 3. I know you know about these because you've talked about them as well. Just talk about these 3 players, and then once you've kind of talked about them in a little bit of detail, let us know in your opinion which one you would go for if you were Newcastle United. So let's start with Manu Kone.
So I hate you guys for doing this to us. Really do.
Well, welcome to Loaded, mate.
Well, I was just about to say that. Welcome to the show. But yeah, so Manu Kone, as you guys know, if you follow us on Twitter, I watch every single league, every single game possible, whether it's Bundesliga, Danish league, anywhere, I'll be watching. And Manu Kone has caught my eye for a number of years now. This player is terrific. He truly is remarkable. He actually grew his name playing in the French League Division 2 because the season he was just getting into the squad, they got relegated. And when he went down with the team, that gave them the opportunity of getting more game time. So that's where he was developed. And that's where he was noticed by Borussia Mönchengladbach, where he plays football now. And he's 21-year-old defensive midfielder. He actually began his career as an attacking midfielder. So what I mean by that is he's got a very, very good positive attitude on the ball. and always looks to get the ball forward before anything. Before playing it side to side, if there's an option or risk pass to get it forward, he will. And that's what I like about him. He relies on his upper body strength. He's very strong, so he's very good in tight areas. And what he's good at is receiving the ball and putting his body in between the ball and marker. And he draws a lot of fouls by it, so it's very, very clever in what he does. He's very good at he's evading pressure, his press resistance quality, and his spatial awareness is outstanding. Like, he just picks up pockets of space to receive the ball and just keeps the ball ticking from side to side. It's unbelievable. And that's exactly what he brings. And he's so pleasing on the eye when he does it, because he's robust in the tackle as well. So he's got everything you want from a defensive midfielder. So I really, really like this boy. Very good player.
Interesting. Look, he looks a player.
Yeah.
If anyone's seen him play, he looks. I mean, and even if you like watch clips of him, you'll see very quick feet, progressive player for someone that plays in the number 6. But he's got that intensity. That he's a tenacious player. At times, I think I might have said it on another show. At times, the way he gets about plays, he reminds me a little bit of Tiote. Not as intense as Tiote, but he gets around plays. I don't think anyone could be as intense.
Does he get red cards the whole time?
Tiote was a walking guaranteed yellow card. Bless him, bless his soul. But he's I don't think anyone could be as intense as Tiote, but he reminds me of him, the way he gets about plays and he gets stuck in. But actually, probably what Tiote didn't have is the ability on the ball, and Kone has that. He has the ability to travel with the ball, travel distances, play in tight spaces. Seems like a real player. I think only 21 years old, so still bags of time to grow and develop in that time. So really interesting how he's kind of developing. And like I said, boys, I don't know if you have seen much of Manu Kone. I know we've talked about him a number of times, but he does seem a really good talent.
Yeah.
Good engine. A few bits I've watched of him only the last few days while I've been dusted around doing nothing else. But a couple of the players, the three are very similar. But I think if you were going to throw your dollars down, for me, Kone would be the one I'd probably be looking at.
I think he's the more mature and more experienced out of them all so far.
Yeah.
Of the three for me, I love Moise Caicedo. He did really well against us, not Bruno. On Kone, I did watch him. I think it was the summer when we'll watch a few clips when we're linked to talking about him then, but I haven't seen him since really. And Khephren Thuram, potentially, who knows what's happened there? Rumors, but potentially we might be looking at him. His name might pop up. It's popped up on a show on previous back in May. If you want to go back, and I actually have the clip ready to go if that one does ever happen. So
I think with the lad from Brighton, though, he seems to have recommitted himself to Brighton there this evening. So he's on. There's a few quotes on Twitter from him talking about the project and the manager and everything. And now I know that means nothing. He could likely leave tomorrow. You wouldn't know, but timing wise, he just seems to kind of have reaffirmed his allegiance to Brighton and their way forward in the project there. So be interesting to see if there's any movement on him.
Mark, does that make sense to you, the fact that he's made those comments? It does to me, but does it make sense to you, the fact that he's reaffirmed his
No, that's a money grab, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That for me, when a player puts something out like that, and it's like when you get the old adage, Frank Lampard and Everton, the board are fully behind Frank Lampard. No, you're not. If he doesn't get a result against United, he's sacked. Let's be honest. Do you know what I mean? So I think the player thing is very similar. It's from the lad, from himself. It's like, listen, I like being here and I'm fully behind the project. I love the manager and everything else. But hey, by the way, I got a few people touting me around. So it's agent talk, isn't it? Because I believe he's only on something. He's on stupid money
Minimum.
at Brighton.
Minimum.
I'm not 100% sure, but like I heard somebody on Twitter put up he's only on something like $8,000 a week, 8 or 9 grand a week. It's like he's not even
Minimum.
above the 10 grand. I know it's less than double figures anyway. I know that. So I'm sure if you're his agent and you're kind of getting a few names bandied about now of teams that are looking at him, certainly after his displays so far this season. I mean, you're really knocking on Brighton's door, going, "Hey, listen, I need to be getting about 50, 60k here now if you want me to hang around, and a decent contract." But by the way, if we don't make Europa League or anything, and the Champions League or a European club comes in, I'm away. So
you know what? Sorry to steal the comments again, Daz. I'm just at the end. Craig Lee's just put exactly what you've just said, Mark. He wants to rise, and actually, if he's on that, that's crazy.
Yeah. I thought it was 3. I wasn't sure, but just in my head, I had $8,000 in my head for some reason. But that, I think Geordie Toon for Life is right. He's on $3,000 a week.
Dan Ashford would know that.
It's crazy, but that's what I come back to with the way Dan Ashworth works. He looks for players that are intelligent and got a good head on the shoulders. And
can't be that intelligent, Antonio. He took $3,000.
No. What I'm saying is that's Moses Caicedo, because normally players would go for the highest offer at the biggest club and just sit and rot on the bench.
He sold a good project.
Exactly. Moses Caicedo when his mindset is, if I work hard, the money will come. And that's what I love about him. Because he doesn't chase that money, doesn't chase that dream suddenly. He knows if he works hard now, he's still got 10 years in his career. The money will eventually come. Do you know what I mean? So he will eventually hit those highs in terms of salary. But it's a great mature way to look at it.
Yeah, no, good point. Good point.
Just to note, lads, I want to shout out to Hugh O'Neill, who became a member of Loaded as well. If you also would like to become a member, just hit that join button, and you can only do it on laptop though, and that will allow you to. It's £2 a month, and it gets you into the member prize draws. As you might remember, we gave away a TV there right before Christmas. We don't say that often enough. That was amazing. But again, thanks to Russ, and we have a member prizes and chips, t-shirts, and depending on who our sponsors are, and going forward as well. But become a member. Click that button.
Superb. Look, we've touched on Matheus Caicedo as the alternative. We've got Khephren Thuram. You're right. He is the less experienced of the three. He hasn't played as many games. He's around the same age, 21 years old. But I'll let you talk about him, Antonio. What does he give as a player, which has made a lot of people, not just Newcastle fans or Newcastle in particular, talk about him as a potential to being like the next big thing?
So this is another boy. This is why it's so hard choose between the three, because I love his ability, but he does things in a different way to Manu Kone. So Thuram's actually 6'4", so he's an imposing figure in that middle of the park. When I compare him to Varela at 5'9", now do you see why he's small? Do you know what I mean? So but what I love about him the most is he can offer that defensive mindset and that deep lying playmaker mindset. But he's averaging in the top 10 for successful ball carries in Europe this season. And he's only, 21 years of age, and he's only had a handful of fixtures, which is extraordinary. So he's very good technically. He's athletic. He's got great balance, agility, and the way he glides past people, man, it's unbelievable. So he doesn't take them on with a step over, a piece of skill. He punches a ball past him and he just maneuvers around 3 or 4 players, taking them out of the game. It's a beautiful thing to see. And his ball retention skills and recycling skills are incredible. And that's what he'll offer. And he's good in tight spaces despite his height. He's very good in change of direction as well. So he's a wonderful footballer to watch. And I've got no doubt if he does come to St. James's, the fans will absolutely enjoy his style of play. It looks like every time you're going to get frustrated, he's going to lose the ball, but he's always calm and in control. And it's just wonderful to see he's a top player.
I've just put on there, Daz, I'll just steal it for a second. Palmer's just said, watched a bit of Thuram, season at Nice. My first impressions of him was that he's an absolute unit and he's someone that could be molded into a superstar 100%. With the right coaching. Now, look, we all know on this panel that we've got the right manager and the right coach there to make any player better. There's no doubt about that. But with Khephren Thuram, there's a potential there to mold in, and I do go back to that physical stature, 6'4". He is very, very imposing on the pitch, and he does dominate and use his height and his physicality to his benefit. He does put himself around on the pitch. He does make a difference from that. He is, like I say, he has got a lack of experience in comparison to Moise Caicedo, who has Premier League experience, and Kone, who's probably the most experienced of them all. But when you've got those raw attributes, like it almost reminds me a little bit of what Yaya Toure was about when he was young. You know, he had those physical attributes that he put himself about. He was able to travel with the ball. I'm not saying he's going to be a Yaya Toure, but there's a potential there for him to be a really kind of big, physical, solid player moving forward.
Without a doubt. Couldn't agree more.
Definitely. But
I think he might be someone that we hear more of as the transfer window goes on. It might be his name may pop up again in more solid league. So we'll see. Watch this space.
We saw.
Definitely. Right. Okay. I'm going to go on to the person we've just spoken about. We're going to go on to his brother. Matheus Franca. We talked about Graham Bailey, who was a friend of the channel, was on the show last week. Talked about Matheus Franca being a player that Newcastle were interested in. What can you tell us about Matheus Franca? As a player, how would he fit into a Newcastle United team?
Yeah, he's again low risk, high reward. Out of contract in the summer, he's available for 12-15 million. When usually his type of player would be about 60-70 million. So again, low risk, high reward, because he's only 25 years old. So if we do need to sell him, we're going to make that money back as well, which is unbelievable. But in terms of a player, he's versatile. Can play anywhere along the front line, whether that's centrally, left, right. He's dynamic. He's a good dribbler. He always attacks his opponents with intensity, which is what we like. Gets at them, gets on the front foot, and likes to drive forward. And his combination players along the front three are outstanding. Combining with the midfielders, with the centre forward, passing little give and goes are outstanding. And he's got an eye for a goal as well. And he's a creator. So, like I say, it's definitely a low risk, high reward type of transfer. And with that European experience, it's no doubt about it. We should be going in for him, but I'm assuming a lot of top clubs will be as well.
Definitely.
Sorry.
All sorts going on in the chat at the moment. There's some adverts from moderators.
No, what happened? Antonio, you've been new to this, Antonio, but there's all sorts of action going on in the chat usually. And Lisa's trying to watch the game at the same time, and then Martin said concentrate on the show, and I was accused of being bossy, but it was actually Martin's comment. So now Martin's put an ad on for a new moderator.
Lisa, just tell us when there's a goal. Other than that, just focus on what we're doing. Don't worry about that. Look, let's face it, we're ahead of at least one of those teams. for now. So let us just kick on. Look, Marcus Thuram, boys. Do you think there's a likelihood of a deal being done in January, or do you think the Marcus Thuram deal is beyond us? Dasmar, what are your thoughts about Marcus Thuram right now?
Since Marty's on mute, it doesn't realise he's on mute. Go on, go first.
No, go on. I was waiting for you because you were coughing like me. So, yeah, I don't know. I think, look, again, it goes back to the club piece, doesn't it? If there's a deal to be done and it's the right player and it enhances the team, they'll go and look at it. I think, as António said, for kind of 12 to 15 million, it seems ludicrous money. Go and get him. He'll definitely improve the team. I think, look, we all know where we kind of stand with Wilson, kind of, injuries, etc. Obviously, Isaac's coming back, but your next up in line then is Chris Wood. When Isaac and Wilson are both fit, where do they play? How does that work? If we get an injury to Almiron, what happens on that right hand side? Thuram could play there. So I think there's merit in having him, because I think he can cover multiple areas. He could also play centrally just off that front two or a one. So yeah, I think he's definitely one. He's definitely one I would be looking to do a deal for. But can we hold off other clubs? I think if we were to make a move for him, I think you'd see somebody else come in just to take him away. So I think we'd be struggling to get a hold of him, if I'm honest.
Inter Milan, I was going to say Inter Milan does the team that are
trying to get him, yeah,
linked with him. And obviously, we talked about it before, Daz, that Lilian Thuram, his dad, played a lot in Italy for the majority of his career. Is there maybe a pull to Italy, or do you think we can entice him over to the Premier League? Is Alan St-Maximin's good friend? Not that matters. Yeah. It hasn't proved well with the Lucas Paqueta situation. It could make a difference. You never know.
Yeah, they're the two things I was going to say. It's like, because I listened to the show last week with Graham Bailey, and he mentioned about him. He'd grown up in Italy with his father playing there for such a long time as well. But then it's the ASM factor. I think if we really wanted him, we'd go all out to get him. But as Martin said, I'm expecting someone else to jump in there as well. I likes of even a Chelsea or someone just to, if we go for someone just to try and piss us off, especially when you could pick him up relatively cheaply with his contract situation. But I don't know. I can't see that one happening. I think there's more chance of us getting his brother than him.
Well, he's recently come out in an interview and said his dream clubs to play for are Man United, PSG, Bayern Munich, and Inter Milan. So if Inter Milan do come in, that's probably his preferred destination.
Yeah,
I think he needs to aim a little bit higher myself.
So do I.
Just ream off those 4 clubs off the top of your head.
What aim higher? The richest club in the world, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Definitely. Quality. Look, Marcus Thuram, it's one that, to be fair, I've got to be honest, it's gone a little bit quiet recently.
Yeah.
I think the whole talk about him moving on, he was adamant he wanted to move on in January, but any talk about Marcus Thuram, especially over the last week, has gone radio silent. So whether there's something in the works with any of those clubs, I have no idea. But he was adamant before the window opened that he wanted to leave in January. And there was talk that Mönchengladbach were willing to let him go because they didn't want him to go for nothing. So it's definitely one to watch. We know more so than anyone that these situations can move very, very quickly. That if there's enough money put down on the table, if there's enough of a project in place, that it doesn't matter that he wants to go to Inter Milan or whoever he wants to go to. Players say that all the time, but the reality of them actually going to these clubs are very, very different. Do these clubs want them? That's another question as well. So we'll park that for a second before we go on to some potential talents. I think Antonio has mentioned one or two, or maybe more than one or two talents that we should maybe look out for. Before we get onto that, I think we should talk about two of the players that we have been heavily linked with. And it might not necessarily be your remit, Antonio, but we have to talk about, first and foremost, Youri Tielemans. Now, this situation is moved on. It's continuing to move on and on and on. I don't know if you guys saw him play against Fulham. They lost the game to Fulham 1-0. But I don't know if you boys saw it. But I watched him play, and he was Leicester's best player. He was very, very good against Fulham. Is there an opportunity to get him out of Leicester? He's got 6 months left on his contract. Is there a possibility to get him out of the club and get him to Newcastle? Is he the right player for Newcastle? What's the reality at this moment in time with regards to Youri Tielemans?
Are you talking to me or
Antonio? You go for it. You start it off, mate. Go for it.
Well, is there an opportunity? Without a doubt. Will he do it? I don't know, because I don't think Newcastle want to go for players battling out with others. Do you know what I mean? Because I think there's going to be a lot of suitors for Tielemans. Arsenal, maybe Man United. I don't know why. I just don't get that feeling that Newcastle want him. And I don't know why, because I would love him. And he's a terrific player. But I just get that feeling that we're looking elsewhere at the moment. And I don't know if it's just me getting that feeling or what you guys feel about it, but that's a feeling I kind of get, because it's not really linked in our papers or anything or spoken about. So although I think it would be a brilliant signing, but I'm not sure what you guys think.
I think he'd be a brilliant sign. I think he was more at the top of his game, let's say 2 years ago. But he does need a reboot, and he does need the likes of an Eddie Howe. Would get the best out of him, even get him playing better than he was before. But I don't know. Like before the day before the transfer went through, that he was the player I wanted to bring in. He's gone downhill a bit. I thought we might get him in the summer, but and I know I've kind of written him off a bit that we get him, but then there's talk about him again. I get my hopes up, but I don't know. I really don't know on this one. Whether we can get it over the line.
I think he's a player you'd love, but I think deep down, from both Eddie Howe's perspective and the club, I think they still want Maddison, and I think Maddison still remains their number one target for this window. That's my view.
Look, Mark, I wasn't going to talk about
Pete. I'm sick of saying Maddison's name. If it doesn't happen this window, then I'm fucking alright.
No. I'm not even expecting it to happen this window. But look, seeing as you mentioned James Maddison, why not put his picture up there?
Why not put his picture up?
Why not?
That is the one that's on the wall on the left-hand side of Pete's bed, by the way.
Not quite. But look, I read something the other day that said that James Maddison is still the number one target, and I'm inclined to agree that that's the case. You don't put two bids in for a player if you don't want them. I've said that throughout. I do believe that we'll go back in for him in January. Yeah. I think the knee injury has proved a factor in is not pursuing that deal quickly.
I think we will wait for that to clear up. I think you are 100% right. Yeah. And I think that's the other reason why Dubravka has been called back.
Possibly. Yeah. Great point.
It's a make way.
Honestly, Martin, it's an absolute great point, because obviously Martin Dubravka is back in the squad. We talked about it on previous shows. And And then very, very quickly, off the back of that, he was linked to Leicester. So, it does get tongues wagging, and it's one of those situations. But, the question is it for Tielemans? Is it for Maddison? We don't really know. I do agree with you. I do think James Maddison is the number one target for Newcastle. That's who they want more so than anybody else. But it's whether you can get that deal done. It's a very, very difficult situation. It could happen in January. I wouldn't be surprised if it rolls on into the summer. Antonio, would you agree with that? What are your thoughts on James Maddison? Just from the things that you've seen from him.
I would love him. I think he's absolute dynamite. I think he's a creative master. And I would love him in Newcastle. And I do agree with you. I do think Newcastle prefer Maddison. So I think if they do take Tielemans, then it could keep Maddison there. And I think in January, it's very unlikely because Leicester need him. Do you know what I mean? So I think they'll be reluctant to sell him this season in January. If they stay up, or even if they do go down, I don't think it will. But when they stay up, and because they might not be in Europe, James Maddison, he's 26 going on 27, needs to start playing European football more. Yeah. And if we're in contention to at least get Conference League, so even if he can step into that, do you know what I mean? Then looking at our project, I think he's a pretty more likely a summer signing than it will be in January.
Yeah. I think the fact that you mentioned Conference League, I think that's the very, very, very least that Newcastle fans expect right now. I think the minimum most Newcastle fans expect is the Europa League, the way that we're playing in the position that we're in at the moment. But you're absolutely right. James Maddison deserves to play in regular European football, certainly at the top level. And Newcastle United can provide that at the moment. In terms of they're the most likely to achieve that between them and Leicester. So it's definitely one to look out for. It's not going to go away, regardless of what people think about the situation. It can be very, very frustrating for people, but it's a transfer that's still out there and it's still being talked about. You had Scott Wilson from the Echo that wrote about it the other day and said that James Maddison is Newcastle's number one target. And that is a reality. And it's something that we, regardless of what we think about the situation and the amount of times that we've talked about it, it is a genuine situation that we need to consider, because we know that things change just like that. We could get the okay, and I mean, when I say we, the club can get the okay, Maddison's fit and he's ready to go, and we go and do the deal. Like Martin just said, is that has been a factor right now. I do believe that we'd have put a bid in right now for Maddison if we knew that the knee injury isn't okay. Equally, on the flip side, if they say, right, he's going to be another 6 weeks, we don't do the deal in January. We wait till the summer. It's one of those things.
Can I just say one thing, and it's linked to the Leicester transfers, and it's about Dubravka, right? With Dubravka coming back to us, and with him being on the bench, and PDK has kind of touched on this a bit as well. But can he actually go and play for another Premier League club now that he's played for Man United? He's been on the bench for us. Is it possible for him to, if he was to be used as a make-weight in a deal for, say, Maddison, is that a possibility that he can play for them this season, or not?
If it's a sale, that's okay, is it not? I don't think you can do two domestic loans in a season.
Yeah,
or is there some kind of a reset at the halfway point? I don't know. That's a good point.
But there's a rule about being registered at clubs, and I don't think you can be registered at 3 in any one given season. So
if he played for 3,
I always have this debate today, and that's why I'm bringing it up here as well. I suppose then that comes in, brings into question a bit of with Dubravka being number 2 the other day.
The other thing as well is Dubravka might not even be included. Me personally, and I'll probably get shot down, I think the Maddison deal gets done in January. And I tell you the reasons why I think like that. Because I think the position that the club are in at the moment, Pete, me and you sat the other night and we said, if you get Maddison gets your top 4.
Yeah.
And albeit the club said, listen, European football 2 to 3 years at small steps, we know, because it was said when they went on the summer trip over to Saudi and they went to Yasser's house, and he said, it's great where you are, but we want more. And I think for those reasons, I think PIF will be looking at it and going, fucking hell, hold on a minute now. We're 18 months ahead of where we should be.
Yeah.
Let's go and nail it. And I think one or two of these younger players that Antonio's talking about, coming in, a couple of these South American lads, filling up those squad numbers, getting rid of a bit of the dead wood. I think if you got Isaac back, we keep Wilson fit, you keep Miggy out of injury, and you bring in a Maddison, you nail that top 4. So for me, I think that investment now gets you that huge Champions League investment at the end of the season, and it pays for itself and more.
Yeah, what we don't want to be is the Arsenal of last season, where they were failed to recruit in January and ultimately lost out in the top 4.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We don't want to do the same mistake. So you could be right on that. I get your mindset on that.
And look, Bobby's put in the chat, no way Leicester sell Maddison in January. He's the difference between them staying up and having a massive relegation.
He hasn't played the last 6-7 games. He's missing
exactly,
2 months.
Exactly the point.
He's not the difference. He's not the difference in them.
They have to think about this. This is it's ultimately a gamble for Newcastle, but in the long term, it makes sense for us to do this. The thing
that this boils down to, Pete, is very, very simple. Money.
Yeah.
Because Leicester are skint. They cannot save themselves from a relegation battle if they keep dropping the way they are, because they don't have the cash flow to invest. Brendan Rodgers has said it. The owners have said it. Leicester have no money. Chris said it. Leicester till I die. The other night, lads, we don't have the money. We've got to do something.
I'll add
40 million and 10 million down or whatever it is over a season and a half. If I was Leicester, I would have to look at that financially and go, right, I can bring in 2 players for that.
You would.
Honestly, sorry, António, you go.
No, I was just going to say you would get more money staying in the division.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you're saying he's the difference from them being relegated or staying up, then although he hasn't played the past 6 games, they haven't had a good record. Barely. Do you know what I mean? So if he's that difference, then you get 150 plus million just to stay in the league. Do you know what I mean? Alone. So if they were to be relegated, yes, you get that parachute payment, but it's not the same. And you don't get the TV deals next year, etc. So there's a longer thinking process.
There is as well, but there's 3 worse teams in Leicester there as well, though.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't, like I say, I don't think they'll go down. But if they think that way, then they will go down.
Yeah.
Leicester will pick up enough points to stay in the league.
Yeah,
there is no doubt about it. But as you mentioned, and you're absolutely right, Leicester need money. I talked to a couple of Leicester fans yesterday, and Leicester have agreed an expansion to their stadium to improve their stadium capacity. But it still hasn't been confirmed. It's been agreed by the council. They haven't confirmed it. Why? Because confirmation means money, and they can't afford it right now. They can't even afford the expansion on their stadium.
I think it was something. I read something like 80 million or 80 something as a down payment on something. I don't know where I picked it up, but I think it might have been in the Daily Telegraph or something. But probably wasn't Hugh Goins, but anyway. But I know it's a fairly hefty down payment that they've got to put down on expansion, and I think there's groundworks to be done and everything else. So no, it's a fairly hefty chunk of money.
The plan's only been agreed. they've not even started any of the work yet because they need the money to be guaranteed to start that work. Now, that might not mean nothing to a lot of people, but actually it means a lot because that was their plans to move the club forward, and they've had to halt it. And the reason being is because they cannot afford to move it forward because they don't have the money to move that project forward. They need money in. Now, I'm not saying a Maddison or a Tillemans money would create that, but it would certainly help. At the very least, it would help them to be able to buy 2 or 3 players in the January window to improve the squad. So, they're in a really difficult situation that a team like Newcastle United could exploit. There is no doubt about it. And look, this situation is going to run on. We're going to talk about this, of course, as it runs on. We might get little snippets over the course of the next week or two that bring it forward, or we might get 1 or 2 snippets that means.
I think you hear nothing on that deal. I think it's like a Bruno. I think it just happens.
Yeah,
it just gets announced. Yeah, I think it's a quiet that gets on. I think the other thing, just to finish up on Maddison, is, and I know some of you probably won't be too happy listening, but unfortunately, Leicester are a selling club.
They are.
Yeah,
they are.
And
unfortunately,
this what I say to everybody when they say they want us to spend X amount of money in January. If you look at the money Leicester have recruited for Harry Maguire, Fofana, do you know what I mean? Those types of players that they're buying cheap and selling for a higher fee. There's 150 million already for those 2 players that they've let go. Where's that money now? So this is why it's important to be smart with your recruitment. And this is why I always say, just calm it down, Newcastle fans. When they want the big 50 million spent, 100 million spent every window, it's not sustainable, no matter how much money you've got.
And it's you don't just need to spend money for the sake of it. It's
Yeah,
about spending it on the right players.
yeah, being smart.
Definitely. Look, we'll come to some questions just to kind of round up the show. Antonio, I know you stayed a little bit longer than anticipated. I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's fine.
100%.
I was a bit late, so I've got to make up for it.
No, we appreciate it as always. And look, I'll come to one of the questions from PDK. And it's linked to one of the players that we were going to talk about. If we don't bring on PDK's comments, he hammers us for sure. Hussam Awa from Lyon has 6 months left on his contract as of right now. We talked about it earlier. He knows Bruno. He's played with Bruno. Is it a no-brainer, as PDK says?
Absolutely. PDK needs credit for this because it's somebody that slipped my mind just from thinking about all these players and who I can discuss. And there's just so many. I do forget about a few on the odd occasion, but he's an absolute diamond. Like you say, he's played with Bruno already. They've got great chemistry. I believe it when Patika was at Lyon, they were the midfield 3. And what Uara brings is just that unselfishness, composure on the ball. He doesn't mind not getting all the accolades or anything like that. He's happy to do all the dirty stuff, all the running for others. And that's exactly what he brings. And I just don't, it blows my mind that nobody's looked at him or attempted to even buy him before. Because he's an absolute star. And I watch a lot of Liga football and he stands out above most. He's mature, he's composed, he's comfortable, and he's not been playing much at Lyon because he's only got 6 months left on the deal and they know he's going to leave. So he hasn't been playing much this season, so he'll want out as ASAP. And I think Lyon are a selling club, and Lyon are a club that aren't as switched on as others in France. It pains us to say. So I think we can get him in January if needed for a good 10 to 15 million. With him having 6 months and he's already touted that he's happy to leave, I think it's an absolute no-brainer.
Interesting.
Cool.
Very interesting. Sorry, Daz, go on.
No. Do you want to continue with that player, or we go to a few more questions? I had about 30 questions started. I'm trying to whittle them down a bit because we did cover some. I know you're a Napoli fan as well, Antonio. So there's a question here from Mr. Daz Shocks, and it's about number 77 for Napoli, Mr. KK. If we were to get Champions League football, do you think we could get him? Any chance?
Do you want me to be honest?
Yeah, go on.
No.
And
I'll tell you why. Even though I would absolutely love him, right? I don't think we'll get him because Napoli's owner, ADL, is the most... What's the word I'm looking for? Stubborn prick, you can imagine.
Yeah.
He won't sell anybody, especially him, for less than 100 million. And he's already said that and he sticks to it. That's why he was like with Koulibaly when he was in his prime at Napoli. Yeah. He said, I'm not selling them for anywhere less than 100 million. People bid 90 million, 95 million. He rejected them all. And he said 100 million or nothing. So he's very, very stubborn. And he's not a guy you want to do a deal with. I'm not going to lie, especially for one of his stars. So do I think it'll happen? No. Do I think it could happen in a couple of years' time? Yes. But not right now, unfortunately.
No, fair enough. We'll stick with Napoli, and there's a question here from Simon PBA. So Hirving Lozano, the Mexican lad. Any chance of him?
Hirving Lozano.
That's him.
There would be a chance, I think, because he's not quite hit the heights as he did at PSV at Napoli. But is he the type of technical player our club would look for? Not really. He relies on pace, work rate, and energetic, and he hasn't got that technical nous to his game to really improve us, if that makes sense. I think there's better options out there.
No, that's fair enough. There's two questions here that have Ferland Mendy in it. One from Paul Williams. We spoke about Fresneda already, but and it comes in from German as well. Anyone? This is open to everyone. Anyone? Any thoughts about Ferland Mendy and the links that to Newcastle?
I don't get me wrong. He is an outstanding left back. He is so good. And you know what? In my opinion, he needs to leave Real Madrid in order to maximize the exposure of how good he actually is. The reality of this situation, regardless of the links, and I know, to be fair, Chris is not on tonight, but Chris has talked about it on our loaded chat quite a lot about Ferland Mendy. He's really bigged up that link. For me personally, I don't believe he's going to leave Real Madrid. It's so hard for players to leave Real Madrid because there's always an opportunity of a Champions League. There's always an opportunity of a Serie A. And they're always sniffing in and around something. Even if they don't feel like they're having a good season, that there's always a chance with Real Madrid. And when you're at that club, as Modric said about Cristiano Ronaldo the other day, when you leave Real Madrid, it only goes downhill. Yeah. And look, Newcastle United is going up. Our trajectory is going up. So for me, it would be a great signing for us. He is an instant starter in our left back position. He
Yeah.
brings us everything that we need in a left back at Newcastle United. The problem is the pull away from Real Madrid. Can we pull him away from Real Madrid? We were linked with Marco Asensio in the summer.
Yeah.
The same problem. You can't pull them away from Real Madrid because Real Madrid are the biggest club in the world, regardless of what you think. They might not get to the Champions League every season. They might not win La Liga every season. They might not be at the top end every year, but they are the biggest club in the world. There is no doubt about it. And this is the biggest thing. Can you pull them away from Real Madrid? I don't think you can with Mendy. That's just my opinion.
You can kind of go 1 in every 2 years. Madrid get something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you said, might not be 23, but 24. They could be Champions League finalists and win the league and the Super Cup.
Yeah.
So probably every 2 to 3 years, you're guaranteed at least 4 medals.
Yeah, definitely.
There
was a
By the way,
that you mentioned.
Teddy.
I've just seen a comment come up there speaking about Ryan Cherki from Lyon. I've tweeted this out numerous of times. Newcastle United, go and sign him. He's a diamond. So, yeah, I agree with Michael there.
It's one of these. It's one of these, Antonio. You know when you be mangoed. So it's a mango recommendation. I like it.
That's just going to trademark that now.
T-shirts. All right, well, we see if there are any more questions because there's loads. Let's focus on this one as well. Speaking of left backs again, still is about Michael Becker, who we talked about. We did talk about back about a year ago now, and he's a Dutch. He was a PSG, and he's gone to Holland, and he. Potential link up with Botman, I guess, is where this question is going as well. Any thoughts on him, or have we moved past him now?
I'd say we've gone past that. Have we? I'd say that's a done thing. I'd say kind of highlighted a season ago and it didn't happen. So I know personal terms and stuff were done and everything else, but still didn't happen. So I don't think that the owners that we've got now don't seem to and unless it's a firm target that really, really improves the team, I don't think we go back in.
Cool. One for Lee Davey here. He's not here tonight, but one for Lee Davey. One of his favourites, Seko Fofana. Michael's asked, Lions are doing very well in the French league this year. Is it time for Seko Fofana? Love in, Pete? Or is he a little too old for the profile now?
Did anyone watch? Please tell me everyone watched Lens against PSG at the weekend, because I tell you what, if you watch that game, you will know everybody's thoughts on Seko Fofana. The guy is an absolute diamond. And someone put in the chat really early on in the show, he asked a question about Seko Fofana and mentioned, 26, nearly 27. Is he above our
broadband ability?
We'll never know. We'll never know.
Can you hear me?
I'm back. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
You only have to mention the word Fofana and your broadband goes into meltdown like it did last season. I don't know what's going on. Maddison and Fofana and your house just starts to fall apart, bro.
I've already told you my broadband is an absolute disgrace tonight. But Seko Fofana, for me, honestly, you watch him against PSG.
He was outstanding in the game. He was outstanding.
PSG. He was unbelievable.
Into pieces.
The problem is, you're not getting him out of Lens. Lens are getting Champions League football this season. There is no doubt about it. They are getting Champions League football.
He signed a new long-term deal as well, though, didn't he? Last season, they had the whole thing where he came on the pitch and it was all in darkness.
He came on the pitch, the stadium was full, and he's just signed like a 5-year deal. So
you're not getting him.
Nah, I don't think we will.
You are going to get the only way you're getting him out of Lens is if you pay 35 million to 40 million pounds. And for a 26, 27-year-old, maybe that's not viable for Newcastle United. But I tell you what, if you want a number 8 to play at Newcastle United that gives you everything you want from the likes of Joe Linton and Bruno Guimaraes, and you want an alternative to those two players, he's your man. And he's ready to go. He is a leader. He's a captain. He is everything that you want in a centre midfielder player that's going to project you to the top end of the Premier League. He is unbelievable. Brilliant, brilliant player. So good.
I agree.
We'll start to wrap up the questions. Really, we'll have I don't know what was going on here, Lisa. With this one, I don't know what was going on in the chat at that time. But this one for the
you were just saying if Daz got naked, we'll just put another 50 to charity.
One from Gary about when we are over in April about what is the plan? We're talking about that. We'll know more in the coming weeks of what our plans are.
So we are over in April. Yes, we will all be over. The boys are driving up.
It's going to be
messy. Are flying in. It's going to be messy. We are trying to work out where we're going to stay. We're trying to work out where Pete can park, but yeah, we will be there. We have got a nice position and a nice seat for the game against Southampton. Me and Daz are just trying to work out because obviously we have to get flights.
Where do you guys live?
I'm about 20 minutes outside of Dublin, and Daz is over in Galway. So we're both in the Republic of Ireland. Yeah.
And you're
he's to the west of me.
No, not Norway, Galway.
The
west.
It's very much like Norway. It's very green. There's not many people around. They all wear furry coats. So yeah, no, you're not far off, Antonio. To be fair,
I've never been to Norway. I've been to Sweden, but not Norway.
No.
But, Pete's gone.
Pete's gone.
Pete's had enough.
Yeah, so we are. Yeah, we will be over, and once we kind of work out our plans and everything else, I'm sure we'll be in a pub somewhere locally where you can. Come and chat and see the loaded lads, and we won't need broadband to see each other and talk.
I told you,
with alcohol involved, the speech may be just as bad. Yeah, looking forward to that now because obviously, I'm looking forward to catching up with everybody because again, apart from Richie, I actually haven't physically met up with the lads. Nearly 2 into 3 years now. We've not actually met. Would you believe?
Exactly.
Due to COVID and other things, but anyway. But yeah,
that is it for the question. We sure will. That's really it for the question. There's loads of questions and comments, but we did cover a lot.
City are 1-0 up.
We were going through City 1-0 up. But we'll start to wrap it up. So Pete, will we go for a shout out to the sponsors?
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay, cool.
I'll probably cut out knowing me.
Yeah.
No my broadband, so go for it, mate.
No problem. Actually, I accidentally hit this, but it's a good time to bring it up as well. Make sure you hit that like
button. Mahrez with the goal for City, boys, by the way. Sorry.
Thanks, Martin. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. As we said earlier, we are still about 31 away from 5k, but if you're watching this on playback, you can make that difference and get us the 5k. Shout out to chaiburns.com and the range that Simon has available in Chaiburns, and also the loaded t-shirts and hoodies and everything like that, and hats, of course. But I was modeled by our members as well. Here's Ray, here's Mick, and here's Mick and Ray. So that's kind of cool. The guys got to meet up with, so we have that picture of as well. And of course, they're at their concert. And of course, we sponsor the reserve team at the concert. So,
the Bulls, yeah.
So the Bulls. Go on the Bulls.
Go on the Bulls.
Also, shout out to Would I Eat There? We're also modeling the loaded t-shirt. So that is on Shyburns and the range available there. And big massive shout out to Russ, who's in the chat there as well. And I know Simon was as well, actually. But shout out to Russ and the Radiator Shed. And I know Russ is doing a bit of work on that website at the moment, and so he's doing a bit of a few updates. And they're also working on a showroom. So we'll get Russ on, and he'll tell us more about that in time. So
there's a lot in the pipeline.
he has a lot in the pipeline, is right. And also his other company, the Install Works, and you will see Russ in the loaded van. We have a van. That's right, António, a van. But yeah, no, this is Russ's van with the loaded logo on it. And yeah, if you need any radiators, and any heating needs, go check out the Radiator Shed. That's it for the sponsors. And Pete, we lost Pete again. So let me see. So we do. What we can tell you is we do have a show coming up on Monday. I'm not sure we're going to say who we're with yet. Maybe we'll keep it. We haven't it set up on the system yet. But a nice show in the lead. He's back.
Let's ask him first. Yeah, let's hope he gets this shit sorted out for Monday.
I don't know
what's going on. Your broadband has never been as bad, fella.
I've got to stay quiet here because I was just as bad at the start of the show.
No, you were just perfect, António. But
to be fair, it's normally Daz's hamster that's breaking down, not Pete's.
Yeah, because I live in the countryside, so yeah, it's not the greatest when it comes to broadband. But yeah, I was just saying, Pete, that we have a show coming up on Monday, and maybe we're not going to say anything yet about who we've got on, but it's going to be Leicester focused because of course we play in the quarterfinal of the League Cup on the Tuesday. So do we want to say anything yet, Pete? I keep
You're probing me for this. You're probing me to find out. No, we're not going to say a word.
No.
But all I'm going to say is that for us boys Unloaded, we have got some absolute fantastic shows, just like tonight, ready for next week. So stay tuned because you are going to not want to miss anything. Just like tonight, we've had a brilliant show. António, you've been an awesome guest on the show tonight.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Your opinions, your information on players that a lot of us may not even know about. There's lots of players you've talked about tonight that we don't know about in detail. You've been absolutely spot on.
You want us to list more?
Absolute pleasure.
Hey, listen, it's a long window till the end of January. I'm sure we'll see him again at some point.
Yeah. Guys, I just want to say thank you to all the listeners that have commented, interacted, or even subscribed. Thank you very much. Subscribe to these lads, are top lads. And it's been an absolute honor being on. Honestly, I really appreciate the invite. And if you enjoyed it, I would more than happy to come on some other time. So feel free to get in touch.
And António, can I ask you just for anyone that's listening back on Spotify or iTunes tomorrow or that, can you just tell people that your YouTube channel as well, where people can find you?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I started it about 6 months ago and done about 20 shows, and I haven't done any in about 2 months. But if you find, it's called the Final Whistle podcast, YouTube, and if you go and hit the subscribe button, we really appreciate. Like I say, I'm a novice on this side of things, so it's all trial and error at the moment, but hopefully there will be improvements.
Cool. As were we. We just turned up for one show and kind of
said we give it a go.
From there.
No, you've done great. You've been fantastic hosts and really welcoming. So thank you.
No problem at all.
Great to see you.
That is it. So we are back. We could be, if we make a signing, we'll be back before Monday. But at the moment, our plan is to be back on Monday. So how'd you like that?
How you like drink it.